Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you're doing well out there. So this is a quick pop on the camera and brain dump for you guys here. I wanted to share my thoughts on what psychedelic use in general, even outside of therapy, and therapy have in common, where they overlap, and what you should be doing first if you are trying to use psychedelics, either for healing or just in general for recreational use. So this is based on my own experience and some questions I've had come up in groups I've been a part of and stuff like that. So I want to share with you what you should be working on. So let's unpack it a bit. So let me get right to the point here and share the idea with you. So the first thing I would do if I were you and I were working on how to work with psychedelics effectively and get the most out of them and not get totally overwhelmed or totally blown out or totally confused by them. And if I was trying to do therapeutic work and I wanted to heal, especially if I had C-PTSD or PTSD, and I, again, wanted to be able to tolerate the triggers and the activations and the challenges and the dissociation and all of that, there is one common practice or common kind of way of organizing yourself between the two. And that is what's called building capacity. Okay. So if you study somatic therapy at all, you will come across this idea because it is generally kind of the first order of business in somatic therapy. But I think this is equally true just in straight up psychedelic use. And or again, if you're doing other forms of, trauma therapy or whatever, building capacity is basically this idea of developing your ability to be a container to hold and sit with and be present with whatever the contents of your experience are. So this kind of ties into another somatic therapy idea called the window of tolerance, which we'll be talking about in other videos, which is kind of your zone inside of which you can tolerate a bit of stimulation and activation without getting totally overwhelmed or dissociated. And so building your kind of growing your window of tolerance and building your sense of capacity should be the first thing you're working at. Because obviously, if you take a psychedelic and the experience is bigger than your capacity, you're going to get totally overwhelmed. You're going to get confused, terrified, triggered, anxious, all that fun stuff, right? And same thing if you're doing trauma work here. If you are prone to getting triggered as you start to think about whatever it is that is part of the trauma dynamic for you, if you don't have the ability to sit with that and hold that and know that you're bigger than these feelings and you're bigger than the ruminations, you're bigger than the thoughts, if you can't contain it and be this kind of witnessing, containing presence for those feelings, they will overwhelm you and it's going to be hard to work on them, right? So in general, I want you to start to think about building capacity as if you don't have this built up yet. And this is frankly one of the major kind of shortcomings a lot of my clients have when they come to me. They want to work on stuff. They're perhaps really triggered a lot. They're in anxiety a lot. They're dissociating a lot, or they're, really wanting to understand the issue, but their capacity, their ability to tolerate whatever it is that they need to work with is small. A lot of times these people, first try, say, psilocybin. They try to do a big mushroom journey or a big LSD journey or a big MDMA journey. And again, the experience is so vivid and intense and sensorially kind of stimulating that, again, it overwhelms them because they're not used to being a container for those kinds of big sensations and experiences. So what do you do if you want to build capacity? Okay, so the couple things you want to work on here. A big one is mindfulness. Now, like I just said, most of my clients struggle, a lot of them struggle with building capacity. And that's because a lot of them don't practice mindfulness very regularly. So the first thing I would do if I were you is start to develop mindfulness, which is this ability to track and notice. Quite honestly, it's just the act of noticing what are the thoughts, what are the emotions, what are the sensations, what are the beliefs here, what are the impulses, what are the implications, what are the memories, what's going on internally and experientially for me in a given moment. That's what mindfulness is. Start with developing a mindfulness practice. If you don't like meditation, you can do non-meditation mindfulness, but you will need to start to practice noticing and getting the data that's there in order to be able to contain it. As you start to work out mindfulness, what happens is you start to realize that you are an observer of these contents of your experience, the emotions, the thoughts, the whatever. And as you're observing them, you are therefore bigger than them. By definition, you have to be. I mean, quite literally, another thing that can help here is to remember that the boundaries of your body are larger than the biggest emotion or the biggest experience you've ever had. There's nothing that's ever happened that you've ever experienced that was outside the context of your nervous system. So your nervous system quite literally is the larger container inside which all experience that you experience happens. So that's another way that you can go. So I would work at mindfulness, becoming aware of your body and aware of kind of the way you contain whatever it is you experience. And I would also start to add in somatic tracking. So this is another core tool. So what we're doing with somatic tracking is we're taking that data that we're noticing in the mindfulness and we're noticing it as it, swells up or moves or changes, or as perhaps a body sensation moves from one part of the body to a different part of the body, or a physical sensation changes to an emotion, changes to a thought. These kinds of movements and shifts in internal subjective felt sense experience, paying attention to that in real time is what's called somatic tracking. Okay. So these are the first things you want to start to do. Again, that benefit both just straight up psychedelic work if you're not doing therapeutic work, or psychedelic therapy work, or just straight up therapy work. This is the foundation. Noticing the data and containing it is the foundation upon which you can start to do therapeutic work. So I hope that clarifies things. I hope that makes sense. And again, this is the big mistake that a lot of people make. It's like, I have mental health issues. I need help. Oh, I'm desperate. And they go and they eat like 5 grams of mushrooms, and it's way bigger than their ability to be a container for. So work at being a container. And if you're going to be using psychedelics in this process, consider taking smaller doses that are going to be containable for you, that are going to be within your ability to hold capacity with. And if you want to grow your capacity, you can start to slowly work your edge of what you're able to contain, but you don't want to have an experience that's so far beyond your ability to contain that you're just not able to, because then that's just overwhelm or numbing out or dissociating, or just in general, too big of an experience for you to really work with. So I hope that clarifies. Hope that makes sense. I'm going to run. I have a big day here with a couple of clients, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.